All right, we will begin our agenda study, and you can see that we'll have two presentations right from the beginning, and that will be nice. And then we'll have the one proclamation, so I guess we can take an S off of there. Then we have the committee reports and related items, which we just did in the real estate committee meeting, and then the approval of consent items, including the minutes. And the consent item is for Roman numeral 6C4 as terms of items. So that is approval of a short list for sewer replacement. Any comment on that one?
I'll introduce it. That is, as it says, an approval of short list for the design and construction of the western trunk gravity sewer line. That's the sewer project that you approved for the use of ARPA funds. So we've gone out with an RFQ to qualify different contractors who can also do it as a design build. That's the intention, is to do this as a design build project to avoid conflicts between the engineer and the contractor, because we expect that there'll be underground conditions that we're going to run into there. So we will, after the city commission shortlist this RFQ list here, we'll negotiate pricing with these companies and go with the lowest responsive contractor / design firm. We have David Bahan and Bill Anderson from Water Utilities, if you want to hear more about that project.
Yes, Chad.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Palmer. It mentions a fast-track schedule. What does that look like?
Well, as far as the schedule, the design-build process will be the best, fastest delivery method for this. And so we don't really have the schedule outlined. We obviously have limitations or, where we have to spend the ARPA funds, and our objective is to completely meet that. So I think, do you remember the dates? We have to have it encumbered by a certain date, and then we have to have it spent. And so the idea for the design-build delivery method is to deliver this thing as quickly as possible so we can meet those deadlines. But as far as a set schedule, we don't have that quite yet.
And I believe those dates for encumbrance is December of 24, with the spending of that money December of 26.
And I think where we talk kind of the fast track scenario, even though we don't yet have the timeline, it's the way that this has been done to date, so that we can utilize less contractors on the project, which will help us then by virtue streamline it versus having to cost out each component and use multiple contractors then through a purchasing process.
Okay. And just a follow-up to that, in terms of the piping itself and the current condition with the timeline of the repair, are we still in good shape in terms of it being able to maintain capacity and function while we're getting this fixed and
historically, over the past few years, we have had some, I would say, relatively minor repairs on the southern end of it, but I mean, it's like any other pipe in the ground, the aging infrastructure, where I'm pretty confident that we can make it until we get the new pipeline in, but it's like any other pipeline. We do have breaks here and there that happen, so, but at this point, yeah, I think I'm pretty confident that we'll be okay.
But the sense of urgency is there for sure.
It is, yes, absolutely, and for multiple reasons, and that's why we want to try to fast track this and get it done.
Thank you.
I appreciate Commissioner McLeod, you making that comment, because there is high urgency on this line. And certainly I'm sure this is going to be part of their design, but also making certain that if we do anything, we're over-speccing capacity, not under or not satisfying.
Yes, and David can speak to that better than I can, I think, but it's a delicate balance, because if you oversize something in this case, it may not work hydraulically, and so it is a delicate balance. Working with our colleagues over in Community Economic Development, looking at the potential growth that this trunk line serves. We're definitely working with them on that and doing the best for those long-term projections.
There's going to be lots of it.
Yes.
He said smilingly. Yes, Commissioner Reed.
Thank you. Bill, this is a 36-inch line, and I thought if we're going to line it, it goes down to 30. If we're going to reline it again, it's going to go down to 24?
So, no, this is a complete replacement. That original line was a 36-inch. Back in the mid-'80s, it was lined, reducing that diameter to 30-inch. We're not going to reduce it anymore. We're replacing it.
Okay.
Commissioner Walker?
Just sidebar, and I want to make sure, I just want to thank staff for what the end result, since we talk about water, and the challenges that we had with the opening up of West 10th Street in Wabash. That particular intersection is just, it's smooth.
Wonderful.
For those who may have not gone there, you can come off I-4 and make that right on Fairbanks. You know, we had some water issues down there. I know it's making that situation happen. But kudos to Greg James and Keith Fredericks and the department heads or whoever helped make that happen. And when you're driving now, it's like, why can't I continue to go south? I know the day is coming though, but that has really turned out nice. And I know the water issues we had with the accessories, the accessory property and all that. It has turned out very nice.
Wonderful. City Manager Strauss?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things. This is, as it was referenced, is the commitment from the ARPA funds. And so to some of the questions that's been made here, and I know we've met with several different developers and other, partners in the community. As we've mentioned along the way, the ARPA funds, the kind of final rules came out back in January. Those have continued to be adjusted along the way. And so in order for us to use those funds and make sure that we're meeting all the federal requirements on that, on the front end of this, it has taken a longer amount of time. However, we're confident that, as we mentioned a moment ago, on the back end, when we get now to the design build and we're dealing with less contractors, we think it will expedite the process so that we'll be able to meet the deadlines that we need to meet. Also, I did ask the water utility and Bill specifically to prepare an email that kind of runs through kind of the history and how we are, where we are today, and the plans moving forward. Bill delivered that to Emily and I earlier this week. We're taking a final review of that, and then the plan is we will send that out to the City Commission so that you will have that, and then moving forward, we're going to do a monthly update to that email so that you'll be able to track along now that we have put the pieces in place in the proper order per the federal guidelines so that we can really get this moving.
Excellent.
Great.
Any other questions on this? Is that all right to leave that one on consent? Yes, everybody good? All right, great. So we will. Public hearings.
All right, several ordinances coming back for second reading. The first one is the ordinance relating to firefighters and police officers who have not yet achieved their certification and become sworn officers. Right now, we're placing those officers into the city's general pension plan, which requires tracking throughout the life of their employment with the city and beyond for a very nominal amount of benefit. And so the recommendation is to move those officers into the city's defined contribution plan pending their certification. Once it becomes certified, then they're placed into the firefighter or police officer pension plans, respectively.
Questions?
That does have the approval of the unions.
Okay.
Second item, also pension-related, is a reduction in the required contributions for the police officers' pension plan to reflect that that plan has become actuarial, is in very good actuarial shape. So it's going to reduce the contributions to the city and the members, and then it also has a component of a one-time benefit to retirees, disability retirees, the beneficiaries of retirees, the amount of $437,645 that will be distributed in equal shares to those individuals.
Any questions on that? 3?
3 is a conversion of an existing group home in the Parker Street neighborhood to a two-family residential dwelling. It's at 722 East Merle Street. This is a project being done by Parker Street Ministries. We have maps and things that we can show you if you would like to see those.
We'll do that at the meeting, please. All right, next.
All right, the following two items are related. This is the Tom Mims property at the southwest corner of Lake Parker Avenue and Memorial Boulevard, where there's an existing billboard. He is proposing to construct a three-story, 102,648 square foot commercial building. Most of that will be a mini warehouse / self-storage facility, and then there'll be a small amount, 3,000 square feet, ground floor retail. So number 4 is the required change to the comp plan, and number 5 is then the land use, the zoning change to actually allow the specific construction on that property.
Questions? Next.
Okay, that moves us to miscellaneous. We have on there the one-year action plan for the use of the CDBG funds and the home funds for those programs. This is something we do on an annual basis. Mike Smith's here, and he has a presentation that he will provide on Monday, which is a required part of the process of the city receiving those funds. You can ask any questions you have right now.
Any reason to have to look at this today?
No, it's basically presenting our proposed budget, and then we come back a second time after taking public comments for the final approval.
Okay.
And I know, Mr. Mayor, at the meeting at Cold Bush,
Right.
it was I came fairly attended with a lot of your partners from the various.
It's always likely.
Yeah, it's light attended, but there were several questions been asked, and I think Mike did a good job with getting those questions answered. And like it went well for me. For the years I've gone over there every year for it, it went very well.
Yes, Commissioner Pigeon.
The $136,000, if it didn't come from this, where would it have come from?
I'm sorry, for what?
For the programs, $136,000?
For the public service programs?
Yeah.
It typically comes from CDBG. We use a certain percentage of the funds each year for it. If it's not funded by CDBG, there's some that are funded from general fund. Typically, it's $100,000. We've never had, I think we reduced it to $75,000 one year. The commission asked us to reduce it, but we typically had $100,000 of public service funds from general fund, and then we use 15% from the CDBG money. Some of that's the Parks and Recs programs, and then the other part of it goes to the public services that apply.
So will this be in addition to or replacement of?
In addition to what?
That $100,000, because this $136,000 is new money, right?
No, each year that portion's in the budget. So it's a different amount each year, but
Budget based on actual.
it's a percentage of our action, or of our budget that we get for the CDBG funding. So it's not any new programs that we're creating. We do this every year, just adjust based on the amount of money that we get.
Thanks, Mike. All right, that brings the city manager a recommendation of airport liability insurance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have just the one item on the agenda. It's regarding the renewal of the airport liability insurance. The city's risk broker, which we're all very familiar with, Arthur J. Gallagher Risk Management, markets the airport liability insurance coverage renewal, as well as the various other insurances that the city has. That particular insurance for the airport is set to expire this month. The annual premium for the current 3-year policy is $39,905 per year, and that excludes terrorism and war endorsements. The renewal premium quoted by the current insurance company, which is Ace Property and Casualty Insurance, is $55,116.13 annually for a 3-year period. This will now include the endorsements of terrorism and war. It will also have a 7% Florida Insurance Guarantee Association, also known as FIGA charge.
0.7%.
I'm sorry, there is a decimal there, 7/10. And that provides that provides protection on policies that are issued by an insurance company that's become insolvent and is no longer able to meet those obligations. The need for the terrorism and war endorsements is certainly due to the expansion that we've all been aware of out at the airport and the types of traffic and the number of people and different people that are coming through the airport gates at this time. And so staff's recommendation would be to renew the 3-year policy at the premium of $55,116.13 with Ace Property and Casualty.
Well, I have a question. Was the insurance company requiring that additional coverage, or was that desired? Required or desired is my question.
So we had a discussion with risk, and one of the topics that came up was the terrorism and war. With the changes in our operation and future possible changes in our operation, we wanted to have this insurance. It's a 3-year policy, so we wanted to make sure we had this insurance incorporated into our portfolio.
Desired, more desired.
It was not required, desired.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you.
And that's, again, back to, we've got just more traffic, more different types of traffic, different people that are now coming through our expanded airport. Unlike some of the smaller general aviation, it's desirable because we just have now an increased opportunity for there to be an issue that we would need that coverage for.
Commissioner Reed.
Chris, what is our coverage, dollar amount?
Risk.
I did not bring the
I think
policy
it's
with me.
a $100,000 deductible, and it's
We can tell you on Monday for sure.
Yeah, in the presentation.
Details.
Yeah, great.
I know the deductible's $100,000.
Okay, that brings the city attorney first reading.
All right, one ordinance for first reading, that is another ordinance ratifying the action of the Lakeland Area Mass Transit District, which annexed certain properties into their boundaries and subjected those properties with the property owner's consent to the LAMTAD's ad valorem tax. That's one property's that was done on check. You want to show them on the map.
Sure.
One's in the Morgan Creek area, and a couple are in the Parkway Corporate Center area.
So, we've got, there we go. So the first two parcels are the add-on tracks to Morgan Creek. They're in the kind of the elbow of Modelo Road, just to the southwest of the airport. And then we've got two in Parkway Corporate Center, basically towards the central north end of the overall development. And so we'll have another round of Parkway Corporate Center ones coming forward probably within the next month or so. We're starting to see more and more of these annexations coming forward, but these are, for this time around, clustered in the southwest Lakeland area.
Commissioner McCartney, the value of these?
It's just concurrency, I think, more than anything, and then it also contributes to the transit effort, so.
Absolutely, and the fact, too, that both of these areas are also on the Citrus Connections Red Line, so they do have direct access to transit.
Service.
So we're slowly but surely chipping away at the areas within the city limits that are not in the transit district, and so we're getting there one parcel at a time.
Piecemeal.
Piecemeal.
Well, and the value of that, and we should talk about this again on Monday, is that it creates a system people can really rely on and use where there's high levels of population. And as traffic issues continue, that's certainly a viable utilization of the transit. So, very good.
Well, and it's paying their fair share, so there's service already out there.
Right. Commissioner Reed, thank you.
Chuck, is it just the 1020 property, or was it the 1030 as well?
It's both the 120
And a third, there's about 4 properties we're doing?
We've got the two, the 102 or 1020 and 1030 in Morgan Creek.
Right.
Or just north of Morgan Creek, and then the two in Parkway Corporate Center.
Have we approached anybody to the west, like for 1010 and to the west, to see if they're interested as well?
Not yet. Those are outside of the city, and so what we've learned is the city limit line
It's the yellow.
kind of is the yellow there. So as you start heading west on Modelo Road, that's outside. However, we have learned that the county's comprehensive plan also has almost a mirror image policy of ours, where proximity to transit. They can also require the submittal of an annexation petition to the transit district, and so I think over time we'll start to see more in the southwest Lakeland area. That's something that's being driven by the county's process, and we're coordinating where we can. Certainly in this area, there's a lot of coordination that's already underway.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, next.
Okay, that's the only ordinance for first reading. Will just be read by title only and then voted on at the following meeting. We have several affordable housing items. Jared, do you want to go over these? These are loan agreements.
Sure, thank you. The three items are all loan agreements with associated mortgages and promissory notes for some new construction projects for affordable housing. In January of this year, the Housing Division and the Purchasing Department put out a couple of RFPs. The first one being with $250,000 of SHIP funding that would serve households with the 80% or below area median income, which currently for a family of four is $54,000. The second RFP offered $300,000 for CRA funding, and that RFP had a little bit more flexibility, going up to 120% AMI, which currently for a family of four is $81,000. We received 3 responses to the CRA RFP and no responses to the SHIP funding, but after working with the purchasing department, it was determined that all the responses qualified for both funding sources, so it was determined to go ahead and split the money out after that. And so the first one goes to Impeccable Construction. That's the item C1 there. They're going to be constructing a single-family detached home and then 3 single-family attached homes all on Vermont Avenue, and they'll be receiving $250,000 loan, which is at 2% interest rate. The loan has to be paid back upon the sale to an affordable income qualified buyer or within 18 months. And the next 2 items are to Lakeland Home Inspection Services and Property Scholars Realty, and those were in the amounts of $100,000 each from the SHIP funding. And the terms are all the same for all the agreements, 2% interest to be paid upon the sale or within 18 months. And Mike Smith, again, is here if there's any further questions about it.
Commissioner Morgan.
Try to help me understand, Mike, how as far as, of course, the process I understand a little bit more than I'm asking this question about. But I know how, well, I've seen like Impeccable, for example. I've seen their homes, seen what they built. Matter of fact, they got 2 nice ones just around the corner from where I live. But how do we go about selecting it? They make a bid.
Right.
On the property, on those infield properties, as we do.
We put out an RFP for that funding.
Okay.
And we received 3 proposals back. We want to make sure that the builder's got the ability to build affordable housing, so we look at their experience, what they're proposing to build.
Right.
And in this case, we got 3 qualified responses back. We've had 2 of those builders build houses with us previously.
I know Impeccable, yeah.
Impeccable and Lakeland Home Inspection Services, and then 1 new builder who has built in the Tampa area previously. We worked with Impeccable, as you see on the screen here. This is the multifamily or the single-family attached unit that we designed ourselves and are making available for builders that utilize our programs to use that plan. So we developed this plan for them to build, and they're also building a single-family home, which will utilize our single-family home plan. So we have a single-family and now a townhouse plan available that builders can use, and Impeccable is utilizing those plans, and that will be one of the plans being built on Vermont.
Okay.
And those 2 houses you referenced, Martin Luther King, were part of this first. We put this funding out a couple of years ago, and they utilized it to build those 2 homes. So it's the same type of deal that they had.
Commissioner Music.
Yeah, and I love that design. I'm excited to see one of those go up for sure.
Yeah.
So walk me through it, just as I'm looking through the numbers and the different, so with the Impeccable, what is going to be constructed with that dollar figure? It's one of those, or it's a single family, or it's which?
So they have 2 lots. One of them is a single family lot, and then the next lot they have will be, it's going to have 2 of those units on it. So this funding will fund 3 of those 4.
Okay, good. That makes sense.
And then the single family.
So do we have the price point for what the single family homes are going to be sold for?
Right now, what we've seen, just from what we've seen as part of the builders that are building in our infill program, they're coming in the $200 to $250 range. We haven't had one come for sale in the last few months, so I don't know. That's how we're seeing as they come to market what they are. The challenge for us is getting them to be out to the market in a price point that you can get a qualified buyer at still. That's going to be the challenge with the interest rates going up.
Yeah. Not just.
And Commissioner Reed.
Thank you. So they're not obligated to sell these either, are they?
They're not obligated to.
At 18 months, they can pay them off. They're not obligated to sell them for affordable housing.
No, that's part of the agreement is that they're going to sell it to an income
But I thought
qualified
what you in
affordable
terms
housing
said it
buyer.
was either had to be sold or paid off in 18 months. It didn't mean that, so they have to sell them, they can't keep them.
Right. They're going to sell it to an income qualified buyer. Now, when we get to that point, if the market is in a condition where they're unable to sell, and they're making an effort to, then we may have to go back and look at what some other options are. We want to keep that flexibility open, but the intent of the program is for them to sell it to an affordable housing buyer at that time.
And this is on a free lot and no impact fee, correct?
This lot that they got was part of the infill land bank program, Impeccable, but the other two builders brought their own lots. So we didn't have anything to do with their land. They bought the lots themselves and applied for the program with lots that they
They
had
pay
themselves.
impact fees.
As part of the affordable housing program, they would have reimbursements on impact fees. Now, Impeccable, I believe, is in the core improvement area where theirs are, but the other two are not, so they'd qualify for reimbursements of their impact fees.
The buyer, I think this might have been your question too, so does the buyer have a responsibility for the term of ownership?
The builder, the idea is that they would potentially utilize our down payment assistance program, which would then have restrictions on keeping it affordable for that term or paying that amount back to us. But there is no obligation if they don't use our down payment assistance program.
Okay. Commissioner Mann.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me, I just wanted, just like a historical perspective, it's kind of nice to see being on the CRA board, 4 or 5 years ago, just kind of tweaking what we offer, trying to incent affordable housing from building it ourselves, to trying to do some of these down payment assistance, and then the construction gets underway, and then they're not able to pay their subs because the prices of things, have gone through the roof. And so to see now that this loan kind of covers them so they can pay their subs, get through the construction process until they get to that buyer, just really nice for us to see the evolution, and then to have plans, because that's what I would hear a lot, like, oh, there's no plans that we could build, there's nothing affordable. So great job to the team who's been working, like from the CRA, from Community Development Department. I mean, this is a lot of hard work behind the scenes to just streamline this, to kind of have some things that, maybe didn't work out so great, but then using those as a lesson learned and tweaking.
And leveraging.
I know, Chad, you sit on that.
And the continuing improvement of the area as a result of that.
Yes, I mean, to have plans and then to cover that builder, so they can get through, the construction process, which is lengthy and I know that we had some situations where they couldn't make it through the process, a few years ago because those prices were, and we had to pay the contractors, for them.
Yes.
So this, I feel like it's improved, and I'm excited to see.
Commissioner McLeod.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Commissioner Mann. And Mike, on the first RFP where we didn't receive any responses, do you think the 80% AMI criteria, was that one of the main
We
reasons?
geared that one towards nonprofits, and there just wasn't a response from any of the nonprofits. They didn't have the means to do it, so it was, the income limit was maybe part of it, but it was more that, we targeted. We're trying to get some of the organizations in that have a harder time, usually getting into the construction because they don't have programs geared towards them. So we opened it up to them and didn't get any responses back. And we did get 3 qualified responses back with money in general.
Yeah.
And after talking to purchasing, rather than putting a new RFP out, they said, since we had qualified, we could go out and look for qualified builders, and we had 3 of them that applied already, so we're able to go ahead and utilize them.
And the problem for the nonprofits is they have to raise that money to have the balance to be able to use when they're really raising their money for operations.
Sure.
And so on to them.
That makes sense.
Commissioner Walker.
I want to share that there was a program introduced, that's what introduced, but shared during the spring conference this past few months at LBC Leo, Florida by Caucus Local Elected Officials Conference, St. Petersburg, but the program they're doing. And I thought, we're doing this even as best, I thought. So I want to make sure I put you on record. And I don't put you on record, but I asked that they may want to consider having the program we have in Lakeland be shared as well. Because I thought what I was introduced by what's going on in St. Petersburg at this conference, I thought we're doing even similar, but even I think even it should be shared as best as other cities are trying to find out how they can make sure they can support, a lot of the infill they have in their communities, but also make it, an affordable kind of situation for development and developers and et cetera. So I asked them to make sure to make contact with you all to see what you all want to come in and share, as the St. Petersburg group did here a few months back. So I put y'all out there.
Sharing your successes, he's just interested.
We're prepared to present anything and answer your questions.
Make sure you know.
Any other comments on that one? Next. Oh,
I'm sorry, one more. There again, I know that it's going to be more difficult for us to do affordable housing, obviously. I think I had some friends who had great scores, and they did a 15-year loan at 5.75 fixed rate, and I saw the projections yesterday. By the time these are done, it's probably going to be in the mid to high sevens, and in 2025, we're going to be pushing 10% financial rates for single-family homes.
Easy.
The good news of all of that is that's what reduces inflation. And you can't reduce inflation unless you raise interest rates. In a scenario like this, just none of us want to vote for any of those things. Any other comments? All right, so does that take us through all four of them?
Yes.
Yeah, or all the other two of them?
All three of them.
Yeah, all three of them, yes. Okay, so that brings us down to miscellaneous C1.
Yeah, we just have one item on utility. This is an agreement with Permacast LLC. This is for a privacy wall at the Bridgewater substation on North Road 33. If you recall, this was constructed and became operational February of this year. One of the requirements of our land development code was to have a landscape buffer around the substation. So working with staff as well as the Bridgewater neighborhood, the decision was made to the best way to make it aesthetically pleasing was to construct a privacy wall along the State Road 33. It would be approximately 685 feet in length, 8 feet in height. The city's purchasing department issued an invitation to bid. We received 3 bids. The lowest bid was actually from Waller Construction at $118,500, but Permacast came in at $123,610. But upon evaluation, it was determined that Permacast was the most responsible bidder for a number of reasonings, which are included in the agenda memo. Basically, Permacast was able to ensure that their bid included photos of the actual jobs that they had completed, and also was compatible with depicting what would closely match that neighborhood entrance to the Bridgewater substation. Waller's bid did not include specifics. Rather, they just had a brochure that had multiple design options, but nothing that specifically met that bid criteria that was asked for. In addition, Permacast was able to show a project timeline for completion that was much shorter than what Waller had proposed, and Permacast's bid also included a detailed scope of work, which also had pricing for contingencies or issues that could come up, which Waller did not include. And lastly, another consideration that was looked at was the scope of work that Permacast provided. They are able to do everything in-house, from the engineering, the construction, design component, versus Waller, which was going to outsource to a company outside of Oviedo. And based upon the schedule, they anticipate that Permacast will be able to complete the project in 2 weeks. The schedule is anticipated to begin July of this year. It'll be a 2-part precast concrete wall with a stacked stone finish. Again, the neighborhood is also very pleased with that. They had input in this as well and are happy with what Permacast's bid had proposed. And attached to your commission agenda memo, you'll see a mock-up around the wall, around the substation, what that would look like, which complements the Bridgewater substation entrance. In addition to the $123,610 bid price, there's also a contingency amount that's included in this of $15,120. That's if there's any issues, and also if there's a problem with collapsing soils, that's a not to exceed amount if that's needed. So the total amount not to exceed amount is $138,730. But again, that may come in lower than that.
I know when we opened the substation, that was the only comment.
Yeah.
We heard.
But the neighborhood is happy with
Right.
the proposed solution.
They knew what was coming, so.
Does this have any appliques in it, or is it just pretty flat? I mean, would it say Bridgewater or anything, and is that desirable? Are any of those design elements desirable?
Bobby Shields is here, and I know he worked really closely with the project in the neighborhood as well.
I didn't understand your question.
Are there any, you know how sometimes you can put some applique or the logo of a neighborhood or something in a panel of the wall?
That wasn't part of the option. It was discussed among us that it would be neat to have that, and they said, I believe they're capable of that could be added on later as a metal sign, but that wasn't part of the bid.
Okay. Yeah, something that would go on top of, not within the concrete itself. It's probably smarter.
It would be an additional cost to have Permacast design that.
Commissioner Mann.
Thank you, Mayor. So just looking at the picture and listening to the descriptive, is this like fully encased? I mean, is it just on? So, when we were there, there's the sign on the main road and then on the sidewalk.
Is it three-sided or four? Two, so it's an L.
Okay, so it's an L on the main road and along the sidewalk.
Entrance to Bridgewater.
Yeah, the other side is along the wetlands, and the back side is almost fully wooded.
Okay, and on that side with the wetlands, is there any neighbors there that would see through to that area, that side?
That's complete growth.
I didn't remember that. Good question. Yeah, okay. Anything else? All right, thank you very much.
Unless y'all have other questions, I know Kelly has developed a schedule for considering an interim commissioner to replace Commissioner Walker, if you want to go on that this morning.
Love to do that, yes.
I don't know if we'd love to do that.
Take one of these. Stay.
My, oh my, yes.
The other side has the schedule, the side without the schedule.
Thank you. Thank you.
Two-sided. Love one piece of paper, Kelly. Awesome. Me too.
Life should be on one piece of paper. That would be very near today that we decide on the schedule. Yeah.
The only thing that I noted is that I believe y'all were talking about a little bit of a later date for actually selecting the interim commissioner. This specifies September 19th. I don't know if that
gives enough time to.
Is an issue or not.
You're saying that you thought we.
I just had heard y'all mention a later date for selecting the commissioner.
Well, I think that the conversation I remember was that we wanted them to be able to start to observe in October. So they would have some time before they start. So you'd have to be in September to be able to get that done. And I don't know that if you broaden that timing beyond, we gain anything. Because people who are interested are going to qualify. So does the 6/17 through 8/19 provide enough time in your minds for communication with us?
Move to approve the schedule?
Okay.
How about that? We just
Kevin's nodding about communication.
That's, yeah, okay. So so we're really finished by 19, and then we have the qualifying week. And then we have the application for consideration. So is there a second for that motion?
Second.
All right. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Very effectively done, Kelly.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to.
Next. With this efficient teams. We'll start at 9:30 then on our
Commissioners have any comments?
comments on anything else?
Lots of comments on Monday from the APPA conference, but not today.
We'll save them for then. And then we had Commissioner Walker, of course, celebrated last night at our Ridge meeting.
It's a fast year.
Yeah, and I don't know why it was done that way, because I shared with them and they know there's still another meeting. I'm trying to think. Probably because I know what it is. The Holy Spirit is going to my memories. Okay, thank you. I think it's because the annual conference is in August is when I come out being presidency.
Mm-hmm.
You have the president coming in. So my last meeting with Ridge League will be September.
Right, afterwards.
Yeah, but I won't be FLC president. I'll be past president.
Right.
That's probably what they did like that.
That's why it was, yes. That's good.
I think that's probably what they did. Because September, the last meeting I will have as a,
Where will that meeting be?
even as an elected official.
Did you get your severance check?
I'm sure it's in the mail.
I'm sure. But no, I think that's what it was, because September.
Well, thank you for serving so well. The bottom line is it's because people want to celebrate you, and there's certainly your 13 years of serving on this.
As long as they remember he's there.
Yeah, right. Provided you have individuals who do it. We're looking. When I was doing intros last night, for some reason I skipped this thing.
And the program was not about me, for those that was not there. It was not about me. Please know that. It was about the scholarship recipients. They just happened to mention this was going to be my last meeting with the Ridge League kind of thing as president of FLC. And then I told them, I said, wait, hold on now, I still got another meeting coming up in September, but I won't be president at that time, of course, because I'm past president.
This is official break time.
But the big meeting was a scholarship recipients. Big meeting.
Yeah. And it's your hometown.
Yes, the hometown.
Hometown hero.
Yeah. Yeah. So the next meeting, we're starting at 3rd, right?
Yeah.
Is that going to be a workshop?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to have to be
All right.
We did notice it as 9:30 or immediately following agenda study. I don't know how many people.
Let's look at those hands pop up. We can use the restroom.
You're getting sharper there now.
My husband hates that.
All right.
I gotta clean my house for my husband.
Then we'd like to start.
I'm sure it's a disaster. I don't believe it would be a disaster.
I don't know if there are other members.
Music, I know you can hear. We're going to go ahead and get started on this. We're on the air.
The last couple times he's come home, it's been
Who do we need to
whirling
show?
dervish.
I heard that in the restroom. I can take a picture of our house and send it to him.
Wait, exactly.
Am I aware of
He hasn't asked for that. When my kids were little, I had 6 kids, I said I'd eat with anybody, but how dirty my house can get compared to your dirty. I mean, it just depends. And it can be totally clean and it can be a disaster.
Right, then let's go.
All they need is to come in with their friends.
Get started.
Life at my house, or they do like some kind of.
All right. Go ahead, sir.
I don't care. I don't know if it's up to me. She's asking if she can sit